Good afternoon. My name is Taneva, and I will be your conference operator today. At this time, I would like to welcome everyone to the Infrastructure Management Global Community Webcast. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question during that time, simply press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, press the pound key. Thank you. Mr. Michael Helder, Community Board President, you may begin your conference.
Thank you. And welcome everyone to the February 2015 edition of the IAM Community Webcast. Today we have Dan Holmes, Jason Norman, and Bernard Claremont to talk a little bit about the latest and greatest on the 2.4 release of CA Performance Management. Before we go there, I just wanted to give you a quick update for those interested. We are in the final stages of planning a technical event for the EMEA area, which will be held in April on the 28th and 29th in London, or just outside London in Ditton Park, close to the CA offices there. We'll be covering CA Spectrum, eHealth, UIM, and performance management there, two-day event, and you can expect to see an announcement about it this week in the communities for those interested. With that, just like to refer you to the newsletter that was posted just before this in the community blog for some more details and some other updates. Then it's up to you, Dan.
Okay, great. Thanks, Michael, and thanks everybody in the IAM community for giving us the chance to come and spend an hour with you and give you an update on the latest product. We've been so busy this past year. There's never enough time to be able to reach out and talk to all of you, our customers, and share what we're doing, share what we're thinking, show the progress. So this is great. I love it. Joining me today is Jason Normandin. He's a colleague of mine in product management, doing some real interesting stuff around the user experience, our Open API initiative, and he's got a wealth of experience on Spectrum and eHealth and the performance management product. Also, Bernie Claremont, who's one of our right-hand folks out in the field, has really been helping us drive a strategy that is going to connect with real customers using this product. So Bernie's going to join. He's going to help answer questions. He's also going to share, help out with just kind of demoing some of the new stuff in the product and just share some examples of some of the views and dashboards and stuff that are available with this release. So without further ado, I'm going to take us through a few things here. I've got a slide just to hit upon some news, some highlights. I never want to miss out on the chance just to make sure I share some of that information. Then we'll go through and do a product update. Some of this you may have seen, some of it may not. Again, I'm a big believer in over communicating, so we'll take you through some of the highlights in the 2.4 release. Then we want to shift gear and show some demos, and that's what Bernie's going to help with. And I've asked Jason to see if he can show some good examples of some of the cool stuff we're doing around the Open API. And then I've just got a few thoughts on kind of helping to share our perspective on what's next. What are we going to focus on this year, and then open it up to Q&A, just to get your feedback and discussions. So let me go through this pretty quick. So the first thing is just to recap that in December we did release 2.4.0, and then in February we actually released 2.4.1, which is an honest-to-goodness real service release. One of the things you'll notice under the improvements is we're actually getting more honest and better with how we version the product, and a release strategy that's tied to a thoughtful fix strategy around that. This was one of the initiatives I wanted to improve upon coming into this year. So what we did with 2.4.1 is we took our January monthly update kit and we promoted it to a service release, shipping an updated version of Vertica. It's not a major update. It doesn't change any of your requirements, but it's for them a service pack update that fixed some issues on the Vertica side that we felt would be valuable to make available to our customers. We focused on bug fixes, so as a service release, it's just bug fixes, possibly some content, and then if there are any enhancements, it would only be one or two really small ones. And in this case, there was only one really small one on enabling you to see the 95th percentile metrics in the IM tabletop view. So just wanted to give you an update that when you go to the support download site, the release that's available is the 2.4.1, and it's there. So that's where we are today. Tomorrow, for those who didn't notice, if you're part of the IM pre-release community, tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, the team is already beyond 2.4, and they're now on 2.5, so we're going to have our end of sprint demo. And at the end of this presentation, I'll comment on some of the things they're showing. It's really cool progress there, and we love having customers join the end of sprint demos because your feedback gets directly to the engineers, and it can make any adjustments in how they're viewing, the way you want the feature to work. So that's really good. Some other things is you're going to be receiving notification that we're going to pilot leveraging a new platform that is focused on helping improve the customer validation experience. This is not in any way, a new platform community, community collaboration. This remains the same. This is all new. This is great. But this is just a way to better organize, better communicate, and more easily distribute to you access to the software to do testing if you're interested in doing some of that pre-release testing as part of the validation experience. So just a heads up that you may see an invitation. You should all get an invitation to participate and join this, and it's just a way, again, to improve our communication and just make it easier to keep you up to date with when are the upcoming end of sprints and which of those are going to have sprint kits, and making it easier for you to get your hands on those sprint kits if you want to do some testing. So that's there. And then the last thing is we've been working with some other customers, and again, if anyone on the call here is interested, if you're keeping up with the latest releases, our engineering services team has been working with customers, to come in and help do. We've got some really good utilities now for doing a system health check, and we'll help configure some of the self-monitoring within the some of the self-monitoring, which is kind of our tool looking at the health and performance of the tool itself, and then we can even take it a step further, and we can set up APM to help watch that as well. Obviously, when we're starting to ramp this thing up, performance of the tool itself is something that we want to be able to have great instrumentation and some good insight into. So just a couple of things there. All right, and then the other thing I just want to do at the beginning of this is just, you're going to see some names that may or may not be familiar. Some of you at CA World had a chance to meet myself, Jason, Tim, but just some other names out there. These are just folks that are involved with the product, so you may see them on the community site. You may see them responding to your questions or your ideas. So I'm very focused on the overall, what's called the carrier grade performance strategy. Jason clearly driving user experience, Open API. Matt's doing a lot of work with the team on the data repository and advancing our analytics in the system. Tim is doing a lot around core services like our OEM configuration service, discovery, the new threshold profiles. He's also doing all of the work on our SDN and NFV strategy and execution this year. Margaret really helps out coordinating, organizing, prioritizing all the SNMP cert requests and helping to improve that system. And then Kieran and Nagesh are helping us on the mediation manager. So this is just a few of the folks that are involved that you're going to no doubt see their names. Hopefully you get to put a face to a name at one of the events, like what Michael said, the event in Europe, which is a chance for customers to meet with product managers and developers. So just wanted to share that. And then before I get into the what's new, I always like to connect it back to the strategy, because I think one of the real changes that our new CEO brought to the table as we focus on improving CA as a company building high quality software is improving the way in which we develop our strategies and then execute against a clear strategy. And so whether it is John Smith or Terrence Clark or Kathy Hickey or Desi or myself, when we talk about what we're doing, we always connect it back to the infrastructure management. This is the vision, this is the mission of the team. Within this mission, clearly the emphasis that is from Mike Gregoire to John Smith all the way down to us is, deep within that mission is consistently perceived as the easiest to implement and manage. That's the goal. Are we there today? Well, that's always going to be up to our customers to be sharing back with us. Where are we doing that well and where are we not doing that well? But as we organize ourselves and prioritize our work, making sure that whether it's a small organization or the very large organizations that our team is going after, we want to make sure that we're innovating to make sure that the solutions are as easiest to implement, easiest to manage, easiest to get value out of. So the carrier grade performance strategy, and this was something that I had started sharing last year, and again the theory here is you can build for enterprise customers and try to stretch the product up to the largest CSP, or you can build for the largest communication service providers and then leverage that innovation back down into customers of all sizes. So that is what I've been advocating and really driving when we look at the performance management product, what's different in terms of our strategy and how we're executing is, our R&D team and product management team, we're aligned to very focused on, we want to solve the problems of innovating performance management that can serve the largest organizations like communication service providers, and then we want to take that innovation and make sure that it can then become available to customers of all sizes. But we're picking our initial target at this market here. And so what that means is we wrap the work that we're doing around a strategy of, well, in order to take performance management and to solve the use cases for the largest customers, the largest communication service providers, what are the initiatives that are really going to guide our activities? And so again, back to our mission, simple, unified, easy is very much paramount in our strategy. But then in addition to that, the initiatives that the team is executing against are these, 6 initiatives here. Driving our low cost to scale up, improving the speed to certify both SNMP and non-SNMP, improving the tool support for QoS as well as reporting, as well as our OEM configuration capabilities, which includes testing like the IPSLA testing many of us are familiar with. The embedded knowledge in the solution to really get fast time to value and harness the expertise of all of our engineers and all of the customers we work with, opening up the architecture for external development, OSS integration, advanced analytics, and then wrapping the whole solution in resilience. These are really the initiatives that we've been constructing our roadmap and that frankly the team has been executing on across the last year, and then we're carrying this into next year. So I mention that because then when we take a look at where we are with 2.4, which is what we wanted to show you today, we can put it in context to our business unit strategy, but also the strategy that has been really driving the product so that you not only know what got us to this point, but where are we going ahead. So with 2.4, there were three objectives, kind of 3 high-level reasons we want to encourage customers to upgrade and be excited about the release. So the first one, I really line up against the guiding principle of listen to your customers, right? Just shut up and listen sometimes and hear what they're telling you when they've put their hands on a product you're building and they're telling you, listen, I used to be able to do this, or I need to be able to do that, or this is what's really bothering me in the product. So the first thing we wanted to do is make sure that we're listening and we're aligning our resources to respond to what we're hearing, whether it's around the overall quality and performance, or in this case, there were some key features that were really making it difficult to deploy this in both a mega-scale infrastructure or really in any infrastructure. But it lined up against our strategy because we could basically see how you are not going to be able to manage large infrastructures, really large infrastructures, if we don't have a better system of configuring thresholds in the system at high scale. If we don't have the pull filtering controls in the system so that you can actually dial the system to monitor exactly what you want to monitor the way you want to monitor it. So this was one of the key initiatives, is let's move some of those boulders out of the way so that our customers can move forward. And a lot of the basis for those is frankly just shutting up and listening to our customers. So on the right-hand side, you can see some of these are the items that were in the roadmap. That's the other thing we try to do, is keep very aligned to our roadmaps that we're communicating. So again, when you view a roadmap, you can anticipate, you can predict, you can plan against what we say we're going to deliver. The other two strategic initiatives at kind of a high level was back to that initiative of speed to cert. We wanted to introduce new ways to increase the speed with which we can get the right information into the cert. And the project here was our out-of-band, or what I'm now calling our on-demand certification support. This means we're readying the product, so independent of upgrading the product, we can publish new certifications you can download and you can install those into the product. That way you can organize and align when you upgrade the product to when you want the new features and enhancements in the product, not when you need support for a new piece of infrastructure. So that was very strategic and something that we targeted. And then the other, which is the project that Jason's been leading, is let's also look to innovate new ways of getting the data out of the system so that we can vastly open up new opportunities to how we can present the data that's in the system to the end users the way the end users want. Our strategy is to not only improve CA Performance Center, but also to open up opportunities to deliver other ways of either taking the data and doing advanced analytics on it, or taking the data and visualizing it exactly the way you and your end users want to view it. So that's the introduction to the Open API in this release was key. So I'll take you through many of those items and show you visually what they were. So in the theme of shut up and listen, we carved out some time to make sure that, big or small, our customers were telling us things that either really annoyed them in the system or just enhancements that they really either had in one of our previous generation systems or just really want now that they've had their hands on the tool. So everything from improving the look and feel to being able to see the trend lines in our, those lines in our trend views was something that we put a big emphasis on in the release, and we'll continue that. We've got a really great, experienced UX designer on staff. He did a great job with 2.4. He's now working with the CA Mediation Manager team so that our tools align and have a consistent look and high quality look and feel. He's also going to be working with the NFA team and some of the others as well, so that the whole solution benefits. But then we've also got some big ones, right? Like being able to edit. Where's the one that we always talk about here? Changing the dashboard layout should not remove all the views. Probably couldn't be a more annoying feature in a product, right? When you took the time to build the views, all you want to do is change the layout. So again, we corrected that in this release. The x-axis on the trend view, or the y-axis on the trend views, now you can set to auto-adjust there. The dynamic URLs in the CAPC browser views. So this is all stuff that came from interactions with customers as well as watching the activity on the community, particularly focusing on the areas that are getting a lot of votes and comments from folks like yourselves on the community. So these are just a few, and I've got some screenshots to take you through it for those who haven't upgraded yet. So you can see here is the new look and feel. It's different. I'm always interested in people's feedback. I know my feedback for this is when I first switched to this view, I was like, okay, I'm not sure exactly if I think it's the best, but after about 10 or 15 minutes of using it, I can't go back to the old view. I guess it's that blue on blue text that you realize is just really tough to work with. So these are the new trend views. You can see we asked Bill, make it, put focus on, a clean look and feel, but really put emphasis on allowing customers to see the data, right? So in a trend view, you know, the colors that we're selecting, select colors that are going to be very easy for users to be able to just see visually, and the text, and take a look at the white space. Let's make sure we're maximizing real estate that we have. So here's just a view of, this is actually a view of some of the self-monitoring metrics that are available in the system, and it's to highlight the new trend views. Here's a nice view. It shows the multi-metric or a stacked trend, but then on the left-hand side, one of those features that I didn't mention that's in the list was customers wanted to view 30 days of data at high resolution as polled. So you can see in the upper right, you can see how that looks now when you configure it. And I think my next slide will show you how to configure it. So there's a couple of parts to this, right? So in 2.4, if you want to be able to provide views to your users that are actually going to get all the as-polled data and put it in a 30-day trend, you can do it. Obviously, it's going to request more data from the system when users are bringing up these views. So what we've done is we've started by adding a role right. So the first thing you need to do is just take your role, and if you want to add this capability, then you select the Run Dashboards at High Resolution right to that role. And then when you set the view to 30 days and then you edit the view, you'll notice that down in the lower right-hand side here, you can now, instead of just the default of an hour, you can set it all the way down to the most granular value. And what will happen is the same view, a user that has the privilege will see what I'm showing here, which is the trend view with high granularity. And a user that goes to the same dashboard that does not have the view will see it using the normal roll-ups. So again, you can control you know, the experience of the end user, and you don't have to build separate dashboards for this. So just wanted to point that one out, that's in there. Here are the scorecards with the new look and feel. That's what this view was to show. Again, this was a nice addition that came in 2.3.4, and with every release, we keep tweaking and enhancing the scorecards, and we've got some improvements coming in 2.5 as well. And so these are the scorecards with the new look and feel. It's a good way to summarize at a high level the status of key performance indicators that you're focusing on bringing to people's attention, like the 95th percentile on interface utilization, for example, or I think this one is CPU and memory, looking across a bunch of different sites. And with sites is all of the new site navigation. There were several stories here that the team worked on, really taking customer feedback on, again, what used to work really nice in NPC, and making sure that at a minimum we work as well, if not better, which is always the goal with a second-gen system. So you'll notice the breadcrumbs now are available for all group types, which includes sites. And when you select to change that breadcrumb, which is where the top arrow is pointing to, it'll open up the dialog that shows you all of your sites, and it'll bring you in context to this site, so you don't have to drill down and find where you are. In addition, we've identified the view types that are what are called pinned, which is as I navigate a dashboard, I may want to maintain the context of my sites. Where down below you'll notice there are some dynamic sites which can either be dynamic peers, parents, or children. I think I'm showing peers here and children here. So what this lets you do is drill into a site, like in this case I've got the Northeast site, and I can see among my peers I've got Northeast, Northwest, Southeast, and Southwest, and then under children I've got Baltimore. And these sites will dynamically update as I navigate that site hierarchy. But yet the region will always stay the same, and I can see why it's staying the same because of the indication there with a little lock, which is showing you that it's a pinned view. So again, these were about 3 or 4 different stories that were added to the product to improve when you're setting up. A lot of customers doing infrastructure management want to organize that infrastructure management by where it's located. So if you make a nice investment in defining your sites and grouping your equipment under your sites, now the end user experience navigating is much better. So that was work that we did. All right, now I'm just going to take you through 3 problems that we wanted to solve in the product. And the way we look at it as a team is, we want to, the first one was we want to improve the threshold workflow problems, right? We want to innovate a solution to make it easier to configure the analytics for millions of different pulled items. So when the team stepped back and looked at this, they came up with kind of a 3 or 4-prong approach. So the first one was, when you're dealing at high scale, one of the opportunities is to eliminate the bottleneck of your system admins being the only people that can set up thresholds, right? So you want to be able to deputize people in the organization without giving them too much administrative access, which could compromise the system. So the team came up with 2 new role rights. One, to allow people to create, modify, delete their own thresholds. So if you give somebody the create DA threshold profile, then that user can only create and modify and delete the threshold profiles that they themselves create. Or you could deputize people who are part of a team, and that team can administer not only the thresholds they've created, but they could administrate other users' thresholds, and again, without being the DA administrator, having full admin privileges across the system. So that was step 1 on how to improve the system for being able to support the configuration of the analytics at high scale, is allowing you to deputize others in the organization to perform certain tasks. And you can see here, when somebody's been granted this privilege, they will go to part number 2, which is creating a new threshold profile view, which improves the way we organize the different threshold profiles in the system. So the team created a really nice threshold profiles view. It's a folder view that you're seeing here, which lets you create folders for all of the different profiles by technology, by geography, or by user or team, however you want. You've got the flexibility to create it. You can see the different threshold profiles that were created. We also have a table view. Again, depending on the task, sometimes you just want to come in and create threshold profiles and keep them organized or go find them. Another time is you just want to quickly find a profile, either by its name or by the owner or by who last modified it or by its status of being enabled disabled. We also have the ability to enable and disable these profiles. So we also have the table view to complement it. That was part of designing the view experience. And then the concept of the threshold profile itself allows you to create a profile, and then a profile lets you create multiple event rules, and the event rule has the time over setting. It has the fixed as well as standard deviations, depending on the type of threshold you want to apply. It has the trigger event as well as the clear event associated. So you can actually create multiple event rules, associate them to a threshold profile, and then assign that threshold profile to one of your groups, and it can be any one of your groups. And the key is your groups can contain not only devices, but any of your subcomponents. So that was the second part. So the first is deputize your end users. Second is create a highly useful way in which you can configure and administer and manage these profiles. And then the third is, now that you've got these great profiles and the system is able to detect these performance anomalies that you want raised, now what you can do is you can easily add to your dashboards the new filtered events view. Prior to this, we have an events view, and we still have an events view, and that's just going to be all the events associated with the items where your context is set in a dashboard. This now gives you another way in which to create a view experience where you can select the filtered events view, and you can go and you can dial down what events do you want viewed in this event viewer. Do you want all events from all data sources? Do you want only events of a certain type? Or do you only want events associated with those threshold profiles? So again, we introduce the concept of the threshold profile, build threshold profile administration, carry that concept forward into the filtered events view. Then we carry it forward one more time, which is when you want to set up your automated notifications. Again, now in this release, you can set up your automated notifications using the filtering on threshold profile. So you've got a new construct there that can be associated to a group of things, and you're able to define that for these are how I want profiles to be associated, these are how I want the events to be viewed in a dashboard, and these are how I want the events to be, my event notification system to work. So together, all four of those parts were what the team introduced in the 2.4 release to really help innovate, making it easier to configure the analytics in the system, the thresholding in the system, particularly as you're ramping up your monitoring of lots and lots of pulled items. So to complement this, we also recognized and heard from our customers that configuring the system to pull what I want the way I want is an area that we need to improve, particularly as we're getting into larger and larger scaled environments. So we want to innovate a solution to make it easier to configure those monitoring profiles. And so here's what the team came up with. So one, prior to this, you could only set up filtering against the interface type. Now you can do it for all monitoring profiles. You can take a monitoring profile, whether it's for QoS, whether it's for response time, whether it's for interface. You can add a filter to that, which you can see what I've done here is I think I'm selecting or I'm pointing to, this is the response path threshold monitoring. So I've just created a copy of that monitoring profile, and then I've created a filter. And then the real improvement here is when I go into that filter, the team designed a very intuitive user interface to make it easier to configure really powerful regular expression. You can have nested rules, you can have multiple ands, multiple ors. You can not only use the UI to build out the regular expression, down below you can see the expression itself in string format, or you can see what it would look like in XML, because this is also something that you could feed into the system through our RESTful API. So again, when you start automating tasks, like automating, setting up some of these filters, you can push that in through the RESTful API. You do it through XML. So here you can take one of your regular expression filters, and you can see the output to help you construct the next one that you may want to do yourself. So we took a lot of restriction off and also added a nice user interface to just make performing this task easier than in our previous releases. The other thing we did is we understand that as a system administrator, when you're configuring some of these advanced features like the poll filtering, you either yourself may have a question or you may have other users who want to know things like, why are we not monitoring this, or why are we not monitoring it a particular way? So we also added this filter report tab into the view, so that again, when you create one of the filters, one perspective that you may have on how the system has been configured is from a device context. I'd like to know the impact of any of the filters that I've created. So you can see now what I've selected is the monitor devices. I've selected a device, and then I click the poll filter report, and then I select my filter, and down below I can see which discovered components on the devices matched that filter. So it's a great way to be testing the filter. It's also a great way to be able to answer questions really quickly. So I just wanted to show that as well. That was also added as part of this. Again, thinking through all of the different aspects of the use case, from one, just setting up the system, to two, administering, which is often answering questions, either that you have yourself as to how it's performing and why, or that your end users might have. So we wanted to add that one in there. And then the last one, which really leads into the demos that we want to show, is, again, in the 2014, software companies outside of our industry have clearly innovated some interesting ways to accelerate delivering value to customers. So our problem was, we want to innovate a solution that makes it really easy to develop extensions to our products with no developer guide needed. This is where we'd like to be able to stream value to our customers without even requiring our customers to upgrade the product, because we know that could be a major thing for many of you, especially in a really large environment. You have to schedule a maintenance window, you've got to coordinate that with all your end users, and what if all you're looking to do is add a new way to visualize content, or all you're looking to do is add a cert? I hope you're starting to see a theme here as to what we're trying to do. We're trying to find a way to get value faster, but actually not require you to upgrade the product as fast as historically we've asked you to do. So this one, again, no developer guide needed. I mean, we've had core APIs, we've had web service APIs, but to be honest, to really be successful with those APIs, you have to know our architecture inside and out. And so the best people to use the APIs are the people like right outside my office here, sitting next to the core developers who can ask and just reach out to the people developing the product to answer. So we looked outside our industry at Twitter and Facebook and what these guys did. And what they really did is they introduced a whole new development model. This is how the App Store got to 1 billion apps, is really applying this development model, which is you've got back-end system, you take your APIs, but you really construct what's considered an open API, which is really an API designed for a global development community that does not need to know the intimate details of your architecture. And one of the ways you successfully do that is you actually have an API product manager or product owner whose job it is to work with a product designer and really design the API experience just like we would design the experience of a CAPC or any of our other user interfaces. And the output of all of that is that a growing number of developers outside the walls of your company will be able to innovate homegrown apps and that solve problems that you may have and open up opportunities to add more value to your environments. And then what we want to do is we want to allow you to do that and then eventually provide a marketplace if you decide you'd like to share those apps with others in the community. And then others in the community can download an app that one customer built and they're sharing. They can rate the app. CA could have a certification process, and who knows, one day can even put a price tag and make a little money off of it. So that's really the development model that we are really working to organize against. The other part of that model is that global development community is not just external developers, but it's also our own developers. You know, we may find that there are opportunities to innovate a really cool experience against our own open API, which again allows us to distribute that app and that capability independent of having to release the product. So how do we get away from a developer guide? Well, one of the things is we have, rather than having multiple APIs that you have to know the right one, we create an abstraction layer and we introduce what were called smart queries, which are just more intelligent queries than give me a list of all configuration items, give me a list of all metrics for that item. They're smarter queries, and then what we do is instead of documentation, we write a user interface like the query builder, which allows you to come in, and the design of this was modeled after the Amazon shopping experience. Ask your questions, we're going to help find the information, and then you can enter in your question. We will then let you test the results against the products. You can see the data coming back. You can actually see the specific query that you're asking, and then you can see the URL. The end state is really that URL that you're going to then cut and paste into your script or application. So this was what makes an open API different than an API is really a simple question is, do I need a developer guide or not? And if I can get value and I can do development against the system, I can get data out of the system, and I didn't have to read through a multi-thousand-page developer guide if I didn't need to know the architecture, then you're really lining up against the open API movement in the system. And these are just some supporting things. Jason will show you a couple of things here, hopefully on the demo today. These are just some of the examples that he's been playing with, but I'm going to not waste any more on slides. And for those of you who haven't seen, he did post on the community some YouTube videos. So this is the idea, is so easy, you do not need a developer guide, and then rather than endless amounts of documentation, we'll just record some YouTube videos, encourage our customers to record some YouTube videos. We'll post some examples of apps that we're building against it, and we'll encourage our customers to post some apps as examples of what we're building against it. So, so there are a couple of YouTube videos where Jason shares some examples of how to use the Open API. All right, so that is really what I wanted to share at a high level to get a level set with everybody as to where we are with the current product itself. Let's show some stuff, and what I'm thinking is Let's actually start with Bernie. I'm going to ask you, why don't you just take a few minutes and just show some examples. Now what Bernie's going to show is again, we're lining up against what we're calling that carrier grade performance or CSP first strategy. Just so those of you know who have history with Spectrum, that's really the strategy that we applied when we did one-click for Spectrum, right? It was the Marcus at Deutsche Telekom and Rob at Comcast that really set the agenda for that technology. And as many of you hopefully can attest, by applying a CSP first approach to the technology, it not only supported our largest customers, but it really made the experience for other customers pretty good. So, so Bernie, I just made you a presenter, and so Bernie is going to show some examples, and some of the technology he shows in these dashboards may not may be new for some of you, but again, I think it's just a good way to see some of the improvements we're making. So go for it.
Let me know when you can see my web browser there.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So a couple of the use cases, we looked at what typical CSPs have in their environment. Transport, definitely everything has some sort of transport that goes over. So we wanted to take some devices that leverage that, Ciena, Huawei, NetSmart, Fujitsu boxes, things like that. So this demo here primarily just has Huawei in it, but we have use cases with other devices. We just need to get those incorporated into our demo environment. And this one's looking at the transmitted optical power, so being able to see quickly in one view where you're having any issues with that. You can also create thresholds, of course, on these things, and being able to tell whether it's transport or receive, or transmit or receive. And then as you scroll down, you can see just in a different view the same kind of data, just to show you the ability to see this all in one page. So give an idea about like some different visualizations of that optical power from your transmit and receive levels. As you come down the page, this is leveraging our gauge views and the ability to show the bias current, things like that, so that as you look at this from a transport level, you're able to quickly see in one dashboard what's going on and get a feel for that. And so, as we move forward, of course, creating more views with and integrate with carriers that they have NetSmart or those things, and Fujitsu boxes, we can bring that data in as well. But give a feel for what kind of views you could give to a transport engineer. And typically the transport engineer guys are, they're looking at what's going on at that lower level, and your IP levels going over the top of it at a super fast rate. So we also created some other things. We're seeing Metro Ethernet, definitely a standard thing out there in the carrier realm. So created some dashboards around that to show your Metro E-rings, quickly be able to visualize that. Also a big thing that I'm seeing is as what Jason's going to show with the Open API is that a lot of those guys that are doing capacity on those rings are wanting to pull that data out and manipulate it in the raw. So the Open API gives a great way to do that and provide those guys that are doing capacity, if they want to be able to play with the numbers themselves, that ability. So here we're showing your top interface utilization, the typical things we're seeing in the Metro E world. A lot of Cisco, some Hatteras, Ciena. Those devices we're all certified for, and we're able to show Radware is another one that comes up. But the Metro Ethernet Forum has done a great job of defining the standards of how devices should interact and how to create VLANs that are tagged between carriers to provide customers fast Ethernet services. And so this just shows quickly the interface utilization with the bubble up, and then as you scroll down, there's some more views of utilization in versus utilization out. So that way, the end user can tune that dashboard to show it however they want to see the data. And that's one of the things that are really great about CA Performance Center is that you can create these dashboards. They're really easy to create and be able to drag and drop the views in how you want to see them. And so a lot of times, what I found with customers is they'll have power user engineers that are out there, and they're just able to absorb the interface and start running with it and create those views on the fly and be able to show exactly something that's very relevant to them, and then save that into their environment or promote it up into into the greater community to provide it over to the NOC or something like that for troubleshooting. And then here, this is just showing our Radware with our Ethernet OAM as it's monitored and just show the different interfaces, your frame loss ratio, some of those kind of things, your percent transmitted frames level 1 guys, if they start to be more advanced, will drill in and be able to see these views and tell what's going on with the customer. And then as we come down, just another quick view where you can mouse over and see what's going on with the different interfaces that are in your Metro E-Ring. And this is just another top interface view with just a different view of that. Some of the other dashboards we created, there's the Metro E response test. I'll kind of skip over and just jump into more of the LTE stuff. This is more for our wireless carriers. We've got a few dashboards showing some of the things that, Dan had highlighted, the scorecards, the ability to show how many users are roaming, here, what are the bits per second that are used on my gateways from the StarNet. So this leverages our StarNet device pack to pull that data back and provide you with, what's going on in your environment from a wireless carrier. And then, how many users are online, be able to see that really quickly so you could tell maybe, you've got an extreme number of users because maybe there's some event going on, and, if you're leveraging something like SDN, maybe they could, or NFV, you could spin up more capacity, or maybe you need to balance out, what's going on and load balance a bit. And then as you come down here, you can see, how many users are roaming, to tell like how many users are coming from off network onto your network. As we come down further, what's the success rate of the connection? Obviously, if you start having issues there, you're going to want to look into that really quickly. And so you could create a threshold on those kind of things. And then the handoff of the packet gateways. And then lastly, coming down here to show, number of active users. So this is a great way as well to tell, maybe you've failed over to another gateway, or maybe, you're doing some maintenance, you had a failover, and maybe the failback didn't occur, so you could quickly see, what your number of users are on your gateways. And as we come down here, this last bit this is leveraging some BricsWorks data for DNS lookups, and then just a quick calendar heat chart showing, the address pool utilization and those things. So again, providing carriers the ability to get ahead of the ball, and also provide them the ability to see quickly in just a single dashboard what's going on in their carrier environment. And then as we go further down, we can look into VoLTE. So this is definitely the hot topic of what's been going on in the industry, and Verizon and T-Mobile and Sprint. All those guys are spinning up their VoLTE networks and expanding that out to the different markets. And so this provides a great way, and we're starting to see this in the other markets globally as well, requesting this. But again, kind of leveraging the same device packs, but providing a little bit more information on the IP side. So here you've got your StarNet device pack showing you what's going on, your call success rates, and then when you start looking at your policy charging of what's going on, what's the success average there, so you can tell whether your PCRF stuff is working properly. And then as we go down, what your call volumes are. So you can start looking at how much data has been migrated off of LTE over to VoLTE that's leveraging your IP core. And then as we come down, seeing how many sessions you have. So you can provide in a quick couple of dashboards, you can see what your legacy infrastructure is doing as well as what your go-to infrastructure is doing, and be able to see all that in one place. The other thing is, we also have device packs for Brics, and then, fully support the ASRs. I think that covers it, Dan.
All right, cool. No, perfect. And it was a good way to, again, see the new experience, with the new look and feel and some of the improvements to 2.5. So let's give Jason the ball.
Oh.
And can you, just make him a presenter. And then, again, use this to show off a couple of things, again, just to illustrate some of the capabilities with OpenAPI.
Great. Thanks, Dan. Everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, wonderful. So wanted to show a couple of things first. One, I've created a information repository in the community for all the various documentation links and blog posts and YouTube videos and docs that I've created to help kind of speed up and decrease the barrier to entry. So I'll keep updating this as new collateral is added. If there's something specifically you're looking for, just provide a comment in the communities or reach out to me directly. But this should be a good place for anyone interested in getting started to kind of just go through the links that are here, and I think within maybe an hour or 2 hours, you'll be in a position where you'll be up to speed and ready to go and do some cool stuff. Query Builder. As Dan mentioned, the goal of our API was to create every man's API, something that doesn't require a user to be a developer. And more importantly, something that doesn't require a developer to understand all the subtle nuances of the system, the data formats or the data structures or the just the operational flow of the product. So we wanted to separate those two things, right? So this is a way that we've been able to generate a query, or what I call questions. And these questions are simply probing your monitored environment for information. The information can be simple configuration type information, where you're just getting a list of groups, or it can be a little more exotic and include performance information, such as metrics. Show you an example here. I know some of you have begun playing with this, and definitely there's some questions that have been coming in. It's definitely good stuff. So the version we're looking at here is 2.4, and this is our beta version. This was the kind of the let's get it out there, start getting some feedback, and bring some things back into house to understand how we want to iterate and improve moving forward. So a couple of things we did were we looked at the table formatting output, and as you'll see here, I kind of did pretty generic query here that might get me in trouble. We're also optimizing some performance items as well and adding a lot of tuning variables to be able to separate ad hoc from larger queries. So what we get is basically, if this is playing nicely with me, this is one of our mat systems, if you will. So it may not be in the best shape, but if it doesn't work, you know what? That's what demos do. I have more compelling information to show you, but Dan sent some screenshots, showed the basically the output format. We're working on, for 2.5, a very handy way to get the data out of the system in a very usable way. So I would recommend anyone that is not plan to attend the end of sprint demos that we're doing, I believe, tomorrow, as I'm going to walk through version 2.5 of our Query Builder, and it is significantly improved. It's significantly more powerful. There's a lot more options available, and I'll talk more about that output format. So I don't want to hang on this too long. Just wanted, for those that hadn't seen it, there it is. My YouTube videos go into this in depth pretty well, so you should be able to get a good handle on it right away from that. So the goal, like Dan mentioned, is to take these queries or this data set and do something with them. So looking at what we can do with them, we can generate content. So what I've created here is we had a use case come in from the field where they wanted to be able to basically choose a CAPC group, choose a particular time range, and then from that group they wanted to then select a router that was within that group. So we had that in the way of modifying a view context and setting and changing, but they wanted more like a Splunk experience where you could have basically form control. So I created just a little demonstration of basically being able to leverage that. So you select your group, which provides a drop-down list of all the available devices in that group. From that list, you select your device, and it provides you aggregate device statistics as well as detailed interface statistics for that particular device, showing errors, discards, utilization, et cetera. This is all generated with one OData query to generate all of this data set, including the metrics, and it's parameterized within CAPC browser views to embed it. So basically what you'll see is a number of parameters where I have item name, time start, time end. You put these all together, and basically what you get is a dynamic table that as you drive the CAPC browser view and dashboard context, the API call itself is changed to reflect the specific set of data that you've requested within the CAPC context, which is a pretty cool way to integrate that custom context in there. since we're dealing with custom content, we have, the latest and greatest technologies that are out there. So you'll see we have all the nice stuff people are looking for, hover overs, the ability to look at specific data sets, add, subtract metrics from their table with sorting and searching. It's very, very robust, very responsive, and provides, meets that experience that we're not giving you out of the box. Now the second one, everybody loves maps. I created this map markup, and everyone went bananas looking for it, but it wasn't very compelling because it was kind of static. So I wanted to do something a little bit better. So I created this kind of circuit view, and the first thing that this does is it uses a dynamic set of groups, and those groups are configured to provide basically circuit information, two interfaces, one in the source, one in the destination. Within the group, I basically just provide some metadata in the description field. This probably can be done programmatically as well, but it's an illustration of getting the CAPC context and also parsing the data to build interesting views of things. So I have some geo information in here, states, et cetera, and what I've been able to do with that is basically build a circuits view map. So this provides basically an aggregate of all of the circuits that are configured for each of those groups, as well as, we're looking at particular utilization information here, normalized to the right unit, and then scrolling down, you get individual for each particular circuit that information. So we have maps to Texas here going from Boston to Austin, and we see the interfaces that are associated with that particular circuit, and then we get again the detailed information showing totals, min, max, et cetera. So this would work basically for any group that you configured. It would suck that information in, drive it from the dashboard context using the time range, and provide you with that geo map for those configured circuits dynamically and automatically. Again, this is a single API call. I challenge anyone to find other APIs that you can make one URL call to get all of this information and be able to display this information all in a page. This is all done as well with free to use, I think Apache 2.0, MIT license libraries, JavaScript libraries. So this is completely free to use. So this stuff I'm going to be making available. We're building a Git repository that we're going to be able to start sharing stuff with, so I'll be posting that there. This is not meant to be quote-unquote GA code. This is kind of an example of what we're capable of doing, and really trying to showcase the ability to parse that data and then integrate that with CAPC context information to give a more seamless experience for the user. You don't want them to know that they're going from place A to place B, so we've unified on the fonts, on the colors, and things like that to kind of give it a very contiguous view. It doesn't look like it's going to a separate location. And I think that's about what I have to show. Looks like we're right at 12 o'clock. Good timing. Dan, I'll turn it back over to you.
Sure. Yep, send it back over here. All right, and some great conversation in the QA in the chat. So the three of us are kind of working to answer those. So let me just wrap up on a couple of things, and as I mentioned, we'll stay on here for a few more minutes. If those of you that have to drop, we'll also record this, so you could jump to the recording and listen to the end. But I wanted to just kind of that gave you a view of the strategy at its high level, and I went really quick through it. Right, it's hard to go through a strategy and not get into all the context. So, we'll continue to do this, and obviously send me questions as they come in. But that was the basis for what really led up to 2.3.3, 2.3.4, and then 2.4. And now that we're rolling into the new year, what's on our minds for some of the high-level goals that we want that'll continue to push against this strategy and refine the strategy and just try to make this the best product out there. So obviously you can see some things we're thinking. We're very keen and tuned into this idea of listen very carefully to the community. I've done this now for 15 years, and I know very well that nobody knows your product more than your customers, and nobody has a better insight into what it's going to take to be successful with your product than your customers. So starting at the beginning of this year, one of the key parts of driving our strategy was, we've got our own ideas and this is what we want to do, but we really need to balance that very carefully against just listening to customers sharing with us, what used to work in another product, or what, now that you've had your hands on this product, what's not working for you. And so please continue to do that. We'll continue to push. We'll continue to find ways to be listening and acting in a way that we can address that really, really quickly. One of the things I loved when I first met the NetQS team is this concept that as a company and as a community of customers, it was all about being performance experts. I love the focus of that. I like the idea of aspiring to excellence, and that is also a big part of our goal for 2015. And we really hope to leverage things like OpenAPI, like the new analytics that we're introducing in the system, and again, finding ways to connect with our customers and to connect our customers to other customers so that we as a community really become experts and that our technology is aligned to really unlock that opportunity. From a process standpoint, I really want to improve the customer validation process, as well as I mentioned earlier, making strategic moves in the product so that actually we can get value out to you faster and require fewer upgrades. Again, my 15 years of experience in software has led me to believe that that is the goal, right, is faster opportunities to get value continuously out to the customers, but not keep asking your customers to have to upgrade. So the on-demand cert, the OpenAPI initiatives are very much aligned to that very initiative. You're going to see us advance our carrier-grade performance initiatives. A lot of the roadmap is aligned to those 6 key initiatives. And again, it may have the brand of carrier grade. We may pick a focus on CSPs, but all I can say is look at what we did with OneClick. It was the same strategy. We're running a lot of the same plays. Pick your target, be very focused, make sure you're successful, but also understand that there's a lot of opportunity. And if you just look at the amount of infrastructures that even enterprises are required, it is only getting more and more. So we're going to run those initiatives. We're introducing this concept of and this may even be, this is kind of my phrase now, and it's funny, we're kind of having some discussions, but there's the difference between report time analytics and runtime analytics. And it's something that we'll be talking about through 2.5 and the other releases, which is at times you want to collect data, warehouse data, and then when users run dashboards or want to execute reports, you bring data in, you munch the data, and then you present the data, either in the form of visualization or in the aggregate values or the post-process values that you compute. But then there's also the opportunity in the system, now that we're working with a new back end, we're not dealing with Oracle, we're not dealing with a legacy BI architecture, we're really aligning to a modern advanced analytics system. We want to be able to embrace really that hybrid of doing runtime analytics behind the scenes that can embrace a higher quality and really more interesting experience with what we can add for value on top of the data. And then the last thing, last year there was a big part of it which was just get our house in order, right? We had a big shift in strategy. We had a big shift in people that could align to the strategy of having resources co-located to accelerate our opportunities to innovate. We did a lot of good things. I'm reminded that part of our strategic advantage is this portfolio, and whether it is with Spectrum or NFA or ADA or UIM, with all the parts is, we want to lean back in around looking at the integrations with these systems and the workflows through these systems. So I know, for example, there's a great conversation in the community now, and it's on this list here around David mentioned and Stuart's following it up, right? The IP performance tab at the site group level, wanting to see the flow data, and which really just represents back to, listen, I've got multiple data sources and I want to improve the experience by which I can bring data together and present it to the end users in a very highly compelling way. Very interested in that this year, right? Because it is back to, look, we're strengthening our foundation, and now let's start leaning into some of those opportunities where we do have that strategic portfolio advantage. In an open setting like this, can't go through the details of the roadmap. Come to the end of sprint tomorrow. And if you're not already registered to that IAM pre-release community, just send me a note so I can get you there. But if you come into the end of sprint demo, again, you'll see progress we're making around these 3 areas. And again, we've got a little more liberty to get into more of the details of how we're organizing our roadmaps to line up against some of those goals. All right, so that's the end, I think, of our prepared remarks. So let me just leave it at this. Let's take let's just open the line up now. Operator, just if anybody wants to ask a question, and we'll take some time here. Again, there's been some activity in the Q&A, but definitely want to give folks a chance to ask questions or even share comments, whatever you'd like.
Yes, sir. As a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, please press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that's star 1 to ask an audio question. We'll pause for just a moment to compile the Q&A roster.
Dan, there's one question from Hubert that was in there that I assigned over to you. I don't know if you saw it.
Just
scheduled reports.
Yes. Did we get? We were asking which report, but in general, as far as the scheduled reports, the system today supports scheduling, emailing of PDFs from the different views that users create. So that's what's available today. So the question came in was kind of curious to which view were you kind of interested in, and is there something within the what we support today that we're looking to improve there? I don't know, Bernie, if you had a perspective on that or something you wanted to.
No, I just wasn't sure if they wanted to chime in with some clarification, because it seemed like, I'm not sure if they just wanted to see the report and be able to view it from the report to see how many times the reports are being ran, things like that.
Oh, okay, that's a good point. Yep, because there's another requirement too, which is aligned to our self-monitoring initiative around things like wanting to see how often people are viewing dashboards that you've created, so you can find out. That's not in the product today. That's certainly something that's we're starting to hear more and more about, and it's aligned to a self-monitoring initiative we have. So hope to be able to do something interesting there in the upcoming future. Let's see. One question Stuart asked, I think online. I hope it's for all, so I don't embarrass him. But Stuart was asking things like, can the threshold profile, be assigned to only one group? And Jason had clarified that those threshold profiles that I showed, when you create them, you can associate them across multiple groups. You can have one profile across multiple groups, or you can have multiple profiles for one group or multiple groups. Got full flexibility there. All right. Operator, one more chance for anybody on the phone that wants to ask a question or comment. Otherwise, what we'll do is, well, let me start with there. Yeah. Is there anybody that wants to jump in?
Again, ladies and gentlemen, that is star 1. And there are no audio questions at this time.
Hey, Dan,
okay.
how about I close up the call for you today?
Sure, yeah, let's do that then.
Yeah, that was a great presentation. Thank you very much. And so hi, everyone. This is Melissa Potson, your community manager. I just want to thank everyone for joining today. We hope you enjoyed the presentation. Of course, this event was recorded, as we always do. Both the recording as well as the Q&A transcripts will post to the community within the next day or so you can go back and watch the replay if you'd like. Of course, would like to thank Dan Holmes, Jason Normandine, and Bernie Claremont for bringing this information to our community. We're grateful you took time out of your day to do that. And also would like to thank Michael Helder, our Community Board President, for all that you do every single day for our community, so thank you very much. That does conclude our presentations for today, since there were no additional questions, but there were a lot in the Q&A panel. Again, that will post to the community within the next day or so. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for joining. Everyone should have a great day.
This concludes today's webcast. You may now disconnect.
Thank you very much.